Is there a historical trend towards shorter sentences? From my own reading of older books, e.g. 18th, 19th century, in various styles, novels, philosophical treatises, scientific publications, it seems that sentences were longer back then. Is there good hard data on this? Have sentences in fiction shrunk faster than sentences in, say, philosophy journals? I expect so. What explanations can be given for this trend?
Writing for an internet audience means writing short, easily consumed sentence that can be rapidly skimmed for content, and which don't force a theater to continue slogging through a wordy explanation when a short bullet point would have sufficed, because reading on a screen is unnatural and tiring. Not to mention that contemporary literary tastes tend toward the clear ambient and low-fluid purple prose of yesteryear. The equivalents of Fijo's borderline poetic constructions in modern form tend to read us over like complexit pest and drone on set worst. Again, in large part because they don't follow the simple rules of modern literature. Information is paramount, and how information is presented has become much less important than what it actually is, temporarily disregarding standards of readability and good taste. So the obvious choice is minimalist and succinctness and the epitome of ISIS Twitter, which I'll comment already mentioned, especially because it's significantly easier to write many brief sentences than on a long beneath it contains 7 a modicum of comprehensibility. You have no idea how hard that was to do.
I believe the answer is definitely yes. A quick Google search turned up this book result, The History of the English Paragraph, by Edwin Herbert Lewis, where it says, in view of the now well-known fact 1 that the English sentence has decreased in average length at least 1/2 in 300 years, the question arises whether the length of the paragraph has decreased, increased, or remained stationary. The citation is 1. The fact was definitely demonstrated by Professor L. A. Sherman, in his Analytics of Literature, Boston, 1892. Another Google search turned up the book, and I found a certain chapter 19 titled The Literary Sentence Length in English Prose. On page 259 he supplies some hard data from various book sources, which I've converted to text here and filled in with full names, book titles, and dates. This shows the average number of words in between periods for the first few hundred periods. The time periods are, Fabian, 1513, Spencer, 1552 to 1599, Hooker, 1554 to 1600, Macaulay, source written in 1828, Channing, source written in 1838, and Emerson, 1803 to 1882. To round it off, by my own reckoning, the preface to Sherman's book, 1892, has an average of 24.77 words for its 168 sentences. There seems to be a gap of sources in the 1700s, so I wonder if those sentences were around 30 to 40 words long on average. He goes on to show that the authors are pretty consistent within their own works, so these numbers are pretty indicative of an author's style. Furthermore, Sherman demonstrates that the number of predicates per sentence has also decreased with time. Unfortunately, he does not claim to know the cause of this.
TL, Doctor, the short answer is yes, from an evaluation of US President's inaugural addresses and State of the Union addresses, by University of Pennsylvania Professor of Linguistics Mark Lieberman. Beware that the following only extracts the summary of his evaluation, and omits the many helpful images in the original source. To improve ease of readability, I eschew block quotes greater than. Real trends in word and sentence length. October 31, 2011 at 8:34 a.m. Filed by Mark Lieberman under Computational Linguistics, Linguistic History. A couple of days ago, The Telegraph quoted an actor and a television producer admitting typically brainless kids today plaints about how modern modes of communication, especially Twitter, are degrading the English language, so that the sentence with more than one clause is a problem for us, and words are getting shortened. I spent a few minutes fact-checking this foolishness, or at least the word length bit of it, but some readers may have misinterpreted my post as arguing against the view that there are any ongoing changes in English prose style. So I wrote a script to harvest the inaugural addresses and State of the Union addresses from the site of the American Presidency Project at UCSB, and some other scripts to, I hope, extract the texts of the speeches from their HTML wrappings, and to count word and sentence lengths. Why use these sources? Well, different kinds of writing have their own norms, and so it wouldn't be good evidence of an overall historical trend to show, for example, that 20th century sports reporting is stylistically different from 19th century sermons, or that 21st century blogging is different from 18th century pamphleteering. U.S. presidential addresses are one accessible example of a body of texts, spanning more than 200 years, which ought to be fairly consistent in genre and register. The results suggest that mean word lengths have decreased slightly in these addresses over the past century, by 5% or so, while mean sentence lengths have been falling since the founding of the Republic, and have undergone a cumulative drop of perhaps 50%. There are lots of obvious questions, if you care about things like this. For example, how much of the fall in mean sentence length is due to using less clausal embedding, and how much is due to splicing fewer sentences together paratactically, for example with semicolons.
It was like a quick